In this lesson, we're going to cover how to rig up the hand. And for this, we're going to use a control that has just a bunch of attributes on it to control the joints. So there's a couple ways you could do this. You could just do this all FK, make a control for each finger, and sometimes when you need to do stuff fast, that's the quickest option in a pinch if you need to just crank something out. But I prefer to put it all in one control, and the reason for that is just managing your keyframes. When you're animating, you may want to save out certain poses to reuse certain hand positions that come up over and over. The hands can take a while to pose. There's almost as many joints in a hand as there is in the rest of the body as far as posing. So getting just the right pose in a hand can take a little bit of time. So reusing those is pretty handy. And when you have keyframes distributed across a joint per a digit, not just a digit, but per a joint there, that's a lot of keyframes to start to manage and make sure to select all those controls and paste them back on in the right order, versus just having one control that has all the attributes on it and one keyframe that you can copy and get those poses off of. So really, we could put it on anything. I mean, we could put it on the wrist here if we wanted. The only reason I'm going to make a new control is just to separate out the keyframes from the hand, from the wrist. So again, this is just for editing sake. So when I look down here, my timeline when I'm editing, maybe I have twice as many keys for my finger poses that I do for my wrist pose, or vice versa. It's a little bit easier for me to tell what's a hand pose and what's a wrist pose and separate those out via keyframe if they're on two different objects. So that's mostly the only reason why I'm separating that from the hand. So I've already gone ahead and made a control here. Got it down here, and I'm going to pick walk up to its CT group. Again, just something I made ahead of time. And let's go ahead and I'm going to hide my geometry, bring open my outliner. Getting a lot of stuff in here now. So, by the way, everything else is pretty much done on this rig except for the hands at this point, and some finalizing of some stuff. I mean, as far as the individual parts are concerned, the rig's almost done. We still have to kind of put this all together, though, so it's one complete package still. Okay, so we've got the wrist joint, hand control group, constraint point, it's already done, constraint orient. Okay, so let's go ahead and orient this the same way as the hand is, so rotate that 90 degrees. Go ahead, freeze transformations on that, and then I'm going to go ahead and grab the CVs of this hand and pull them out to somewhere where they aren't in the way so much. Okay, I'm happy with that. That's good enough. And with this hand control, we really won't be using any of the existing attributes on this. We won't be using translate, rotate, or anything like that. We'll lock those out eventually. It'll just all be about the attributes that we're adding on here. So before I go and do this, I really want to spend some time and plan this out. When you add attributes, they'll be listed here in whatever order they were added in, and it's not particularly an easy thing to go reorder them. So if you add them all and go like, oh right, I need one way back up here, well, it's going to show up at the bottom, and unless you go recreate them all, it's not going to be in the order that you want. So I'm going to spend a second and kind of think about what I want to add onto my hand as far as controlling everything. And for this, I'm just going to do this in Notepad++. Notepad or WordPad's fine. I like Notepad++ because it's a little bit more friendly towards scripting of how it lists everything. And if you want a copy of it, you could actually go, just do a search for it, Google search or Bing search or whatever. It's notepad-plus-plus.org. You can download it there for free. So either go to the website or do a search for it. Free program, and like I said, it does a little bit better with scripting. So if you start doing more stuff with MailScript or expressions, this is a little bit more friendly to, not that it's better for going back and forth between Maya, just that it's easier to read what it's showing. Not a big deal in this case. Really, for starting out, I'm just going to write down stuff. So first off, I'm just going to think about what categories we need. So I'll think about per an individual finger at first, and think about what categories do I want? Let's say for the index. So we'll start with we'll say that for this category, okay, finger, which one, index. And this isn't script or anything. This is just me writing out, planning it. So I want index curl, and this would curl the whole finger at once. So all 3 joints rotating to bend the finger in. And then I want, let's say, I'm going to call this. I'll keep calling that curl. So curl 1, curl 2, curl 3. Actually I'm going to change this to ABC just because they'll be right by numbers. Again, just for my mind, a little bit easier to determine which is the attribute we're setting and what's the number there. So the different lengths of finger as we go down the finger. So individual control over each joint, bending it. Let's see, we want finger spread, so you can wiggle your finger side to side at the base. So we'll add that. And let's see what else. We'll throw in. Let's see. We need. Yeah, I'll throw this in too. So index stretch. So this will stretch the overall finger. We could go a little bit more finite to control individual stretching the same way we have individual joints, but I'm going to keep it simple for now and just do the whole finger. You could do whatever choice you want to do as we go forward with this. And then index twist. So just a little bit of wiggling around in the x-axis. Your fingers can't do a whole lot of it. Like I can't sit here and twist my hand to get it to go clockwise or counterclockwise, but there is a little bit of give in that. And sometimes you need a little bit of that just to get your hand in the right pose. So we'll have all these things per finger. So I don't think I forgot anything there. So index, middle finger, ring finger, and pinky finger will all have these equivalent attributes. Or attributes. I'm going to remember which one it is, attribute or attribute, but it's one of those words. I should look that up, but then I'll just forget it again like usual. So I'm going to copy that, paste that. So that's mostly going to be the same. So by the way, that's one of the handy features of Notepad++, things like that. So thumb is going to have most of these the same. So when we're looking at these, if you look at your hand, all that kind of starts happening at the base of your palm, whereas the thumb starts at the base of your wrist, as far as the motion goes, because we have an opposable thumb. So I'm going to throw that actually in there too. So for thumb, I'm naming these all this stupid way instead of doing a search and replace, but whatever. We'll do that in a minute. This is just my list. Okay, so we have those, plus we'll need something for, let's say thumb oppose. Okay, so that's, this is essentially each individual finger and then the one extra for the thumb, so it has all the same plus this one more. But I also want a way to curl all the fingers at once. In case I want to make a fist or something like that, I want something that's a little bit easier. So let's see. So fingers all. So we want finger. Fragile. Finger. There we go. Getting ahead of myself on typing. Curl. Finger spread. So this will spread out all the fingers. Finger stretch. Okay, so that just made things actually complicated, because before this was pretty simple and straightforward. You'd make an attribute and plug it into the corresponding joint, and actually it's not. It's going to be a little bit tricky because of this, doing all versus the one. So to do this, we're going to need to add up all these numbers. So to know what the rotation for curling, say, this joint here is, we'll have to add up finger curl all plus index curl plus curl A. So all those numbers combined will be the overall curling of that. So we're going to go ahead and make all these attributes, but then we're going to have to hook them all up so they're all adding up. And the reason I have Notepad++ open is so that we can simplify the sum with scripting. So when we make the first one, we can then start to hook it up and use scripting to simplify the process of making all this stuff, so we aren't spending quite as much time typing all this stuff in. And if we do it right, in theory, it should speed things up. So I'm going to go ahead and start adding all those attributes first, and adding them in a certain order. So let's see. Well, I'll do that in a second. So first, I'm going to do I'm going to add these guys because everybody's going to have those. I'll start with this category. So modify, add attribute. We call it long name is finger, and this is I'm going to split up. This is just going to be a title that I'll lock out. And so let's see, what do I want? String. Is it going to let me add anything for string? No. So I just want to see what happens real quick if I add that. Nothing shows up. Okay. Let's just undo that for the hell of it. Let's try enum. So long name is finger. Oh, I'm going to do this lowercase because it'll capitalize it. And then for green down here, we'll just make it so we can't switch it. Let's say all. And hell, we'll name them both all just in case. I'll double check this in a second here. Okay, so enum basically gives you a drop-down list. Like you could change this from, I don't know, like say you wanted something to either be oriented to the chest or the head, as far as how something falls. Like say the hands either follow the head or the chest, and we'll end up doing this later on when we finalize the rig. You could just do a drop-down list that would switch from one to the other, and so there's no transition like when we do the FK IK switching. It just pops from one to the next with no transition on-off. That's what this is usually for, but we're just going to use it to throw a name in here now. So what we're going to do is right-click on this and lock selected. So we could switch the name from either one. But it's locked, so we'll be able to recognize this as a name. It won't hook up anything. It doesn't do anything. It's just for us to be able to tell what this category is and start to break things up. So now we'll go back and we're doing floats like we were before. And I'm going to do finger, lowercase, finger curl. I'm not going to set a min, max, or default. It's just going to default out at 0. Finger spread. Again, I'm using camel case. It will automatically put spaces in there for me. And finger stretch. Okay, so that's our first category. So we have finger all, finger curl, finger spread, finger stretch. That'll end up doing all of these at once. And for each of these, but well, as far as the control is concerned, that's what it'll do. On the backside, we'll have to do some math to add all these together, like I said. But that won't be such a big issue. We'll go through that in a second. So that's fingers. So the next one we want to do is index. So to save myself some time, in theory here, this would be me lying to myself, and I'm pretty sure this is faster. I'm going to open up my script editor. So this button down here. If you don't have this for some reason, you go up to Window, what is under? Yeah, General Editor, Script Editor. It's the other way to get to it. Do I clear that out? Make sure you're on the Mel tab, not the Python tab. And yeah, so Edit, Clear History will just wipe out everything from in here, so anything you've been doing is cleared out. And the reason for that is because we're going to want to pay attention to what the Mel is spitting out for this. So let me go ahead and make the enum again this time. So, oops, I gotta stop capitalizing. Want to stay consistent. I'm gonna name green index. So down here I could capitalize. Notice like green and blue are capitalized. In here I need to capitalize because it will come out however I type it in. Okay, and the reason I'm doing both is because it won't let me do any less than 2. I could add more if I want, but I have to at least have 2. I think. Well, let me see if I'm wrong there. Nope, did not like that. Or did it? Oh, great, now I can have 1. Okay, I was wrong. So I just got to go in and delete that out. I just can't delete from highlighting. I delete out the text in there. That's why. Okay, so finger index add. Oh, because I've already got that attribute. Okay, so well, this is good to know. I'm going to go back and redo all these real quick. So if you screw up, here's the example of how to do this. You're going to highlight the names and do, where is it? Delete attributes. There we go. Wait, delete attribute. Oh, right, because I locked this, so I got to unlock it first. So I'm right-clicking on there, saying unlock selected, and now I can delete it. Okay, let's try that again. We'll switch around the name to the finger. So this is index. Call this finger. Or wait, no. All. And we'll call this fingers, make it plural. And click add. Okay, we'll lock that one out. And now we'll go back to float. And we'll do fingers curl, add, fingers spread, add, and fingers stretch. All right. So this is a good example. Actually, let's go look in our script editor. So because we had everything cleared out, and here's where I deleted everything. Here's it adding all of the new attributes that we just made. So this one's for the title. You can see it's an enum. The title is fingers. Well, actually the settings fingers. Titles all. What it's adding it to, so it's showing the group, and then the actual control here. This just signifies parenting right there. And then this actually makes it visible and turns it on. So if you didn't have this second line, we wouldn't see it up here. And then here's me locking it. And then here's me creating the floats. So as we go through and do this, what I'll do is make the index one, and then I'll just copy all this, go into Notepad++, do a search and replace all the index for thumb, and in theory we should have unique attributes for each finger and not have to spend as much time typing all that stuff in. So let me go ahead and clear out my history panel and do this again. So let's call this one index and go over to enum and finger. Go ahead and click add. You can go ahead and lock it. Okay. And I'm going to jump back over to float. By the way, so if I click add here, it'll add it and leave the window open. If I click OK, it'll add it and close the window. So I'm clicking add, so it leaves the window open. Okay, so next I have index curl. Right? So this will curl the whole finger. Add. Say index bend 1, and I'm trying to remember if it'll put a space in bend or if I need to put an underscore in there. So let's. Okay, good. It puts a. Actually, nope. I'm going to undo that. I told myself I was going to do A, not 1. So index bend A. Actually, well, uppercase or lowercase doesn't matter. Uppercase actually might be easier to read. Let's do that. If I wanted to do lowercase, I could just do an underscore and type it in like that if I wanted lowercase, but I'll do uppercase. Index, bend C. Okay, so that's each individual finger joint. What else do we need? Let's look at my list again. I have it written one, so I'm looking at that, but you guys can't see me do that, so let's look at our list. So we're down here, so we need index, spread, stretch, and twist still. So index, spread, index, stretch, and index, twist. Okay, so here's all our attributes for the index finger. And to try and save ourselves some time, we're going to copy all this text, paste it into Notepad++. I'm just going to go ahead and make a new tab here. And I'm going to find the part where I made bend 1 with a number and replace it with bend A. Okay, so I'm deleting that part out. But in theory, here's everything we need to create all these attributes. So if I'm correct, and hopefully I am here, I could do a search and replace. So search, replace, I could also hit Control H and tell it to find index and replace it with middle. And hit replace all. There's 17 occurrences of that. And I think that worked. I'm not totally certain, but I'm going to do it the check and see method. So I'm going to paste that back in. If I select it, by the way, so if I don't highlight it when I select it, it'll enter it and it'll disappear from here. If I highlight it and hit enter on my number pad, so number on your keyboard on this side will just make another new line. So that would delete this all out, add a new line. But if I enter my number pad, that will input it. I could also, I think there's actually a button for it. Execute, there we go. Yeah, so if I hit that button, it'll do it also. I never actually use that. So I'm going to hit enter here, and the reason I'm leaving it highlighted in case there's an error, then I could go look for what the typo is or whatever, try to fix it, and then update it if, and I'll still have all the script here to do that easily. So there we go. So we got middle now. And really this is faster, it's just mostly just taking me a long time to explain to you guys what's going on. So now we replace middle with ring, replace all. Okay, copy this, paste it in here. There we go, we got ring finger in there. So this is saving us a lot of time. You can do this with a lot of things too. Maya spits out a lot of script for anything you're doing. So most commands can be copied out of here, pasted somewhere else, modified, and then pasted back in to create stuff to save yourself some time. So keep an eye on that and what's actually going to save you time here or there. So ring, replace that with pinky, pinky, prinky. Okay, there we go, pinky. Replace all. If I'm making typos, it's because I'm trying to speak one thing while writing another. So it's a scary thing for me here, trying to figure out what I've actually written as I'm explaining to you guys. And we'll do one more for thumb. Okay. And then if we look at my original notes, we still want one more attribute for thumb oppose. And does this have spell check in it? Doesn't. Since I am talking and I'm a horrible speller, I'm just going to open up WordPad real quick and make sure I spelled oppose right. It's one of those words that looks right, but I'm not sure, and okay, good. Now, sometimes you just look at a word and you stare at it too long and then it's just looking wrong and you can't figure out why. That's what's going on. Okay. So I think now we have all the attributes that we need to start hooking these up to our hand. I'm going to go ahead and, at this moment, duplicate it over to the right side, so I don't have to go remake these all again. This is really something I should have shown you guys way back when. The easy way to mirror over control. So, still orient constraint. So this thing's already oriented, this part's zeroed out. I'm going to duplicate it, the CT group, and I'm going to rename it from left to right. And I'm going to grab the hand joint on the right side, grab the right hand CT group, constrain, or constrain point and constrain orient. And now that CT group is oriented the same direction as the joint is, but you can see it's backwards now. The easy way to fix that is take all the scale units, change them to -1, and there we go, oriented the correct way. So if your joints were mirrored over from left to right, this is the easy way to bring your controls over. And freeze transformations on that. Alright, so we'll hook that one up later. In this tutorial, we'll just focus on this left hand for now and get everything for it. But keep in mind what we just did here. So if I keep, my script editor being a relative mess, then I should be able to copy the script and paste it in over on the right side if I do a search and replace for left or right. Do keep in mind that undos don't always go through command-wise in here. It'll show the result of an undo, which will say something like undo blah blah blah, through here. So you can look for that, explaining that something was undone, and then delete the line before it, and that way there's nothing to go and undo. But if you're doing stuff and then undoing it and then trying to paste that code over there, it's not always going to come through. But that in theory should be easier to see over here. So now we have the harder task of we need to hook these up, but we have multiple attributes that we want to drive a single joint. So in the case of this guy, just for the rotate Y here, we have this attribute that its numbers need to go in, this attribute that its numbers need to go in, and this one. So how do we start to do that? Well, we're going to make plus minus average nodes for each one of these, throw all three of those in, again using script, and do that all the way and up and down these fingers. So again, I'll do the index here as the starting point. We'll have to plug all these in, for all the fingers. Those will get plugged in via doing each one of these fingers. Anyway, let's go ahead and start doing it. It'll be a little bit clearer. So I'll do the index, I'll do a search in place for it, and then we should be able to recreate everything there. I'm going to bring open my hypergraph connections. Okay, and I'm going to make sure my script editor, I'm just going to go ahead and clear it one more time. Alright, so double pressure's on for me because not only am I recording video now, but I'm recording all my script history, so every move kind of counts for now. So index A. So let's go ahead and bring this open a little bit more. Rendering, create render nodes. And is that window open somewhere? Here it is. Whoa, really small. Okay. And I'm going to go look for my utility nodes and plus minus average. I'm going to make 1, 2, 3, one for each knuckle of the index finger. And I'm going to go ahead and rename these. Let's say, I need to make sure I put it in the side. So left index A plus, and I'm going to go ahead and copy that name. Paste that in for number 2, name it B. And paste that in for number 3, name it C. Alright, so actually as I go, I'm going to start copying out my script step by step, so I can kind of maintain my steps and keep a relatively clean script. So I'm going to copy all that open up Notepad++, make a new tab here, and delete all the unnecessary stuff. So I don't need to do my selection clear. I'll delete that. I don't need to see the resulting text. Anytime you see something bracketed like this, it's just explanation text. This doesn't actually do anything. That's the way you type something back to show you're commenting at that point. Same thing with like HTML, that kind of stuff. Okay. All right. So we have these nodes, and actually, I'm going to try to simplify this just to make our scripts shorter and easier to read. And it's not shown in here, but I'm pretty sure I can do this. So I'm going to try to figure out which way I need to do this. But most nodes, when you create them, you could put the flag in -n, which stands for -name, or -n for short. Hit a space, and in quotation marks, put in your name, and in theory, it should make that. So I'm going to go ahead here, and let's see. I got to do it in a way here that I could show you guys. So I'm going to go to my outliner and turn DAG objects only off. And if I do that, I get to see all these extra nodes that are in the background that have been made for a rig. That usually you don't want to see, because you can see how cluttered this gets real quick. I'm going to go find my plus, there we go, and plus minus average nodes. I'm going to delete all 3 of these, even though I just made them. Alright, so you can see they're gone. And I'm going to try this on all 3 and see if I can't simplify my code. Or not 2 B's. Alright, let's see what happens when I paste this in my script editor. It seems like it worked. I think they'll show up here at the bottom. There we go. They're named when they're created. So to keep my script a little bit simpler, I can delete that out and just do this. Now, if there's something I want to save because I feel like I'm going to do this again, this is something I could totally do and just comment what this does. So I could put the // there and say creates 3 plus nodes, not node, nodes. There we go. Creates 3 plus nodes to hook up to the fingers, to index fingers. Yeah, there we go. Typing live, typos, speaking and talking, jumping ahead in letters. Okay, so that tells us what that part does, names it. And so next we need to start hooking these up. If you remember the last tutorial, we made one of these and hooked it up. But you have to add the rest of your script. So once you do the first one, we'll add a .0 in here, but the rest will keep overriding the .0. You want to add on 1 too. Let me show you guys, because explaining, I'm sure, just doesn't make any sense when you guys haven't done this before. So we have the attributes over here that we need to add up to plug into a single joint. So we're going to open up our connection editor, general editors, connection editor, and we're going to make this first one an input. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and clear history. Let me do this first part, and then I'll explain something that could be a caveat later on, depending on how you're working. So hand control is output, and we'll start with finger curl as an input 1D action. It's a 1D because there's only one number that comes out of there. And as we click on input 1D, we get input 1D 0. So the 0 just signifies like it's a list, like the numbers here. It's just it starts at 0 instead of 1 and counts up. So each number here is just another item it has listed that we're plugging into there. And the deal is if I try to put something else on there, it just overwrites 0 instead of adding a new one like we want. So what we're going to do is do the rest through scripting, and you can see down here it's spitting out the script. So I haven't tested this in a while. I know with older versions of Maya what would happen if you hadn't done this once already through the connection editor. Something about doing the script would not work the first time. So I just have to go, if I'm opening up Maya fresh from, it's been shut down and I haven't been working in it, and I try to run this, it won't always run the connection part of the script. So this line, it won't do anything. It won't run until I go hook two things up. So it's just open up the script editor and say, I don't know, hook this up to this and undo it now. And then once I do that, it works just fine. I don't know if that's still the case. It may still be a thing, but if you find yourself running into that, that may be, if you plug this in and you have the exact same thing I written, and you have the same names and everything, you're going, why didn't this work? Or maybe you made the script already and you're trying to use it again, and it's like, why doesn't this work? That's probably why. So something to be aware of. Okay, so we're gonna copy this, paste, paste, and we'll go ahead and comment this. So if you are writing a script to keep, always comment stuff, because you'll come back to this, if not tomorrow, or say 4 hours from now, and go, okay, I knew what this did before, but I don't remember what the hell any of this does now. That's what commenting does. If somebody else has to use your script, they have no idea what any of this does. Commenting explains it to them. So comment everything, especially if you're keeping your scripts, or it's good to keep for learning, and it's just a good habit to get in. So for some reason, if you have to walk away right now, you could come back and go like, what was I doing? Oh, okay, right. Oh, okay, I see what this does. Okay, I know where I'm at now. So spend a little bit extra time, comment out your scripts. Organize it in a way that's easy to read. So you can see I'm putting in paragraphs. Just basic coding stuff. So let's see. So what does this do? Let's see. Hooks up and control into plus node for index a joint. Okay, so that explains what that does, at least enough so that I can understand it, and hopefully other people can understand it in this case. And we'll capitalize plus so they realize it's a node. Okay, so finger curl, we need what other attributes here? So finger curl, index curl. What's all still on the hand control, so this is the only part you need to change. And index bend A. Okay, so we're going to get all three inputs into here, and that'll connect it up to into the hand. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this, and I can either do a search and replace, or I can just, this is probably fast enough to just type it out. Or not index A anymore, B, 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 and B. Okay. Copy. Oh. Yeah, no, that's right. So I gotta change the names of the finger, which is the only individual one, and then the rest are the plus minus average node. So this one's now C, lowercase c, lowercase c, lowercase c, and another uppercase C. Okay, and so before I go much further, I'm going to run this. Actually, I should have run this first one before I copy and paste it, make sure it worked. Because what you don't want to do is make a whole bunch of script and then find out there's errors all over it, and then try to figure out, like, oh no, which part is there the error in. So as I make this, I'm just going to go through. Okay, so that's already connected, telling it was already connected because we made it already, but I believe it did the other ones, so that's what we want to make sure. I'm going to reload this node here. Nope, it may have stopped because of that, so I'm going to delete that first line, hit enter. Oh, because I forgot to change the other part of this. So it's overwriting the same part anyway. So 1, 2, 0, 1, 2. So it's adding a new one each time. So overwriting the existing. So let's try that again. And this is why we test. Alright, so that hooked up all three, and I can see 3 connections coming through here, so I know they're all coming in. I can also see them in here in the connection editor. They're all listed. So I know that first one works, so in theory the other 2 should work. I'm going to paste them in, make sure I don't get any errors. Looks good, they're all hooked up. Okay, so that's the first step. So we have all the numbers going into this plus minus average. They are all set to sum by default, so I don't have to change that part. And now I need to plug them into their corresponding joints. So I'm going to go ahead and clear my history again. I'm going to load this as the input. Move this out of the way for the moment. And grab that first finger joint and hook up the output 1D into the rotate Y. I can tell it's Y because I'm just looking at the gimbal here. And you see that starting to drive that joint. Okay, so let's do the rest here real quick. And load. So I'm doing the next joint down, and again the next joint down. Okay, so let's test this one out. So if I do fingers curl, so we get the whole thing going there. Should be the same with index. And fingers curl is going to look the same as index curl right now because we don't have any of the others hooked up. That's doing it all, and then individual joints. Wait, there's nothing really to see because there's no tip on C yet. We're going to assume that one's working. So that's all hooked up. So let's get the other 3 here hooked up. And then we're good to start copying the script and pasting it in. Actually, I'm going to go and dig out my connections here. I probably should have done that before testing it, but I could read it and find it. So let's find connection A. There's the first one. Second one. And I know what I'm looking for, so that's partly why I'm able to pick it out so easily. But I'm looking for the part that starts with connect attribute, and then seeing what letter it is, if it's index C or B or A. Alright, so you can comment this. Okay, so that I think is a good description for that part. So again, so far this is all just for the index, and we still need to do the last little bit. So I'm going to clear out my history here, and hopefully you can see this bit of hooking up to do just one. We're spending a little bit more time on the index, so when we do the others, we could just fly through them like they're nothing else. And again, this takes longer because I'm explaining it to you guys, but it would probably take somewhere between half the time to a tenth of the time to just blow through this and do this, and then even speed me up more once I got through to the other ones. So what other attributes do I have? And these I believe I could hook just directly up. Oh no, I can't because I have finger spread, finger stretch, and index stretch, index spread, index twist, all those. Okay, so and then actually finger spread will be a little bit tricky too, because depending which finger it is, we may want it to go just a little one way or a little bit another. So we'll have to throw a little bit more math into that one, but not a problem. So let's see. Let's handle them one at a time. So the next one we have is index spread. Okay. So because it's on the end, we're fine. We'll do a direct plug-in between the two. We'll still have to make a math node here, a plus node, but we don't have to soften it up because like the middle of the ring, we don't want spreading out that far and giving us like the Vulcan, symbol for live long and prosper. We want them to gradually spread out, like you're spreading your fingers out wide. So it fans out rather than has a big center. So that means you need to have less rotation on the spread for these two joints than you do for these. Questionable if you really even need any for the index or middle finger. When I look at my hand spreading, middle stays fairly fixed. So, maybe we don't hook anything up from our finger spread for index, and we just do it on the other ones. But anyway, index should be straightforward enough. So we just need to add the two together. So I'm going to go back to my script here, and we're going to focus on just twisting. So I'm going to copy the part where I make a utility node that's a plus minus average and name it. And call this left index spread. Probably should have been more specific here in the name, but as long as we don't reuse it, we should be fine. Okay, so that's its name. And we know we need to plug into it. So I'm going to copy. So I'm just making the script first. I'm going to keep commenting as I go. Okay, make plus node for index spread. And then this is going to hook up the two attributes that we have into this. So grab that name and replace this name from index A. Okay, so that will plug in to those, and rather than finger curl, we want finger spread and index spread. So the only thing I can think of that we potentially need to change in here is throwing in a multiply divide node in between here, because if we say go positive in all the fingers, we're going to have to do this at some point. So I don't know if it's the index or the other one. I'm going to say positive spreads it and negative brings the fingers in. So if we throw this on and the index goes in, we'll want to throw it out. And we'll do that by putting a multiply divide node in there to multiply it by a negative number, so it reverses the direction of the actual numbers coming from the attribute here. And then we put it on this side, we won't have to do that because they'll already be going negative to throw it that way because all the fingers are oriented the same way. So we have those two. So okay, now I've forgotten how to spell connects while trying to type it. Connects to plus node. Okay. And then after we do that, we could hook up the plus node to the actual joint. And again, I'm not even doing this in here yet. I'm just going to do this all through script first, because I find it a little bit easier to read. So I need this name and replace it with this name. And then I just need to see what rotate axis it is. It's still rotate Y, so spread, it would be Z. Whoops. Oh, right, I'm not even in this program. So replace Y with Z. Alright, let's give this a shot. Well, we'll try it line by line in case I've screwed anything up here. I want to see if there's any errors. So that worked. Then again, I can tell because I'm not seeing red down here in any warning messages. Oh, okay. Finger spread can't not be found. Okay. So what do I have over here? Oh, fingers spread. There we go. Alright, I'm going to go update my script because typos. That's one of those things where I wasn't consistent and I threw myself off. But I'm not going to go back and fix it right now either. I'm going to call it good enough. Actually, if I wanted to, I could go in and change this. I'm just going to do that because then I'm telling you guys one thing or doing another. So I could click on any of these names, go up to edit, and edit attribute, and go find it in here. So, actually, I'm going to do it the other way. I'm going to make finger curl into fingers curl. All right. And now I need to make sure that reflects in my script up here, so again, I stay consistent. Oh, actually, no, not only that. Got this guy over here. Enter. Okay. So that'll be consistent, and then I'm going to go change my script to reflect that name. Fingers curl, fingers curl, fingers curl. Okay, I think that's the only place that I had that. That's why I got thrown off when I hit this one, because I had singular like I had that one. So finger spread, okay. And then I'm going to actually hook this up, that plus minus node, to the joint. There we go. So let's try this out and see which way it goes. See, it's going the opposite way. So, and then index spread should be the same deal. Okay. So what we want when we go positive is, so when we do this for the other fingers, that'll be fine to go that direction. But for this one, we want to go the other way. So go ahead and comment this. Actually, you know what? No, I'm not going to comment this because this isn't what we're going to do. So we need to throw a node in between here and here into here. So let's go ahead and make multiply divide node real quick, and I'm going to undo it. So I made it and unmade it. Mostly because I just want the script for making a multiply divide node, and then I'll throw in the bit about naming it. So name -n, quotation marks, left, index, spread, multiply. Okay. And we'll paste that in. That worked. Okay. So instead of hooking up the plus into the actual joint, we're going to go through this multiply divide first. So I'm going to say, actually, I'm not sure what that connection script looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and alright, so here's that next spread. Open up the connection editor. So output 1, and we're hooking up to Z, so I'm going to use input Z. There we go. Yeah, I just can't remember what format the multiply divide node came in. So copy that script out. So you see I'm jumping around and, if I'm writing the script and making it, or making it in Maya and then using the script. Either way is fine. And again, I should be commenting out this thing as we go. for index spread to reverse direction. And also, so when we make this for the other fingers, we'll take this part out because all the other fingers won't need it. It'll just be the index that needs it. All right, so and also we actually, no, it's not true. The ring will need this. It won't have to be reversed, but it will have to be multiplied, say, times 0.5, so it's getting half, half the rotation that everything else is getting. So it isn't going quite as far. And we'll see if that fans our hand out. Okay. So the output of the index spread plus node into its multiply to reverse direction. Alright, and also, I've still got my multiply divide node selected. It's not going to reverse anything unless I at least turn z, because we're multiplying z times z here, to -1. So with a negative number, it should go the other way. And then we're going to take the left index spread underscore multiply dot output z1. So I'll switch names here and change that from input to output. And in theory, if I plug that in, oh, nope. Alright, well, we'll just do it the old-fashioned way, connection editor, and see what script it spits out. I'm sure I did something wrong there. So make that the output, and grab index A, output Z, into, where's rotate? Rotate Z. And what did I do wrong? Oh, I have output 1Z, that's why. Because there's only one output, there's not output 1, output, or input 1, input 2, there's just the one output. Okay, that's what I did wrong. Okay, so let's try this now and see if it's going the right way. There we go. So when I go positive, it's going out. When I go negative, it's going in. That's what I want. And these will end up doing the same. So let's see. I forgot to put one part in there, and that's where I turned that 1 point to negative. So I'm going to find where I did set attribute. There we go. So that's part of my script setup. Again, just commenting as I go. Sets by divide or multiply node to -1 in Z to reverse rotation direction on output. Okay. And you can see a lot of time like the description is more than the actual script is. But again, just makes it easy to go through here. Like I know what this is all doing right now, but maybe it's another month before I rig up another character hand, and I forget like, oh god, what am I doing with this? Not only that, if I use the same naming convention, I can just go use the same script again. Maybe I just go in this rig and chop out that hand control and paste it into my scene, so I get to reuse it that way. To index a joint. Okay, so that gives us spread. We still need to do stretch and twist. Twist, actually, it's just going to be on its own. So stretch is the only other one that we have to do the same thing. But we should, in theory, be able to do everything we did for spread for stretch sans the multiply node. So I don't need to make the multiply divide node. I don't need to set its input to 1 then. Hit another space here so I can separate this out a little bit more. for indeed spread index. Luckily that's my comment, it doesn't break anything. Stretch. So that'll make my index stretch a plus node. Oh, right, I'm going to have to do that for... No, right, I only have to do this once because we have overall stretch for each. So once I make this, this will just plug into all the fingers. So I should probably save this part for later because, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and make... I'm cutting that out. I'm going to make a new one here. Paste this in. Because the difference between this one is the whole finger stretches. I don't have individual stretching where I have to do the same stuff I was doing before for all that hooking up. No, I'm confusing myself. I'm thinking that when I run this for the other fingers, that'll apply to them. It will not. Alright, so pasting this back in here. So connects index to plus stretch to plus node. Okay, so we have, so far it's just going through replacing spread with stretch. Alright, make sure I don't have a multiply divide node in here. Okay, because I don't need skipping the step of the multiply divide node. Up index stretch to so in this case we're just getting one number out, but we need to hook it up to all three fingers. All three index fingers. Okay, so I'll need this 3 times, but let's first change this to scale, and which direction is it? So if I go to my scale tool, looks like scale X. So, oh, you know, I do need a multiply divide node for this. Okay, so let's hold off 1 second. So I do need it, because here's the deal. We're going to bring this number up, but scale always starts with 1, but our attribute starts at 0. So if I plug this into there, we're going to get nothing. The finger will disappear immediately as soon as I plug that in if I do that. So I need to make another multiply node here to deal with that. Okay, so once it goes in the plus node, we're going to make a multiply node. So rather than spread, stretch. So this is after the plus node is created. Makes a multiply divide node for index stretch to reverse direction. Utility node, and again, we're still just on the index. So again, this is why I'm making a script for this. I mean, again, this seems to take a little bit longer, but you know, even if I was just going ahead and doing this, I'd still have to do it for all these 3 other fingers. And not only that, this is reusable. So when I do this for this side, I still have to go then do the right side too. So guess how easy that's going to be once I have this whole script and I just search and replace left for right. So again, that's why I'm doing this. It seems like it's taken a while, and it kind of does, but you know, again, there's more joints here than the rest of the body. I mean, think how much time we spent in the arm, spent in the leg, spent in the face, just hooking that stuff up. You know, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 joints in here in each hand. 30 joints here. Rest of the body, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, There's maybe 30 joints in the rest of the body, let alone everything else up to this one. So this is why this takes so freaking long. So seems like it's trivial because it's such a small body part, but more moving parts than the rest of the body. So we're making this multiply node so that when we get those two values added up, we're multiplying by them, so we can multiply it by 1 rather than adding 2, so we don't make our scale disappear. By default, when we create this, it'll be its second value will be 1 for x, y, and z, so we won't have to do anything other than just make it. So we make this node, and then I'm going to copy this part. Actually, I'm just going to copy the last 2 parts there because I didn't need to delete that before. That's actually what I did need. Oops, not cut. Copy. Okay. So, and again, we're just going to replace spread with stretch. And then multiply out into, so rather than rotate z, scale x. And rather than just the 1, we want to do it to all. By the way, as you're doing this, make sure every line that is a script ends with a semicolon. If you don't, the script's not going to work. That tells us it's the end of a line every time. If you have that's saying this is all one line, and then when it hits here, it's just going to be confused. It doesn't look at the lines, like line 61, 62 is different bits of script. It just looks wherever it's being separated by the semicolon as bits of script. So, if I wanted to, I could write this thing like this, and it would work the same way. It's just more confusing to read that way. So index A, index B, index C. Okay, so what's the last thing I did? I don't think I made that multiply divide node, so I think I got to do all these parts too. No, I don't see it down here, so I need to make that. That worked. Again, I could copy and paste this all at once if I want to, but this is me make sure it works. Same thing. Okay, I did that same error again. Oh wait, no. Oh, typo. I left a P in there. Let's try that again. Oh, ha! I never made that guy. I don't think I did any of this stuff yet. So let's make the plus minus node. Alright, so that's made and connected. And then we've made the multiply divide node. Okay, let's plug in plus node into the multiply node. That part worked. And then we hook up the multiply node into each of the joints. And that part worked. Okay, so something's still wrong there. What have I done wrong? So, because I'm multiplying 0 times that, because I haven't added anything. So what happens when you multiply 0 times anything? You get 0. So I need to at least start with 1 in there. So I'm going to find that plus attribute, modify, add attribute, name this default scale, give a minimum, maximum of default of 1, so we can't change it from anything from that. And I'm going to throw that into my notepad, so I have that right after I make the plus node. And then I'm going to throw in a line for plugging that number into itself. So rather than left hand, default scale, and put it one more place down, so 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, what the hell did I call it? Oh, index spread instead of index stretch. Oh, ha. I did not change these, so I've got the wrong thing connected up. Okay, so I'm going to run this real quick. Capital there, and copy all this. Alright, so it's saying I already have incoming connections, which is true because I put the wrong, I'm pasting back in my correct script here. I grabbed the script from finger spread, so I need to go make sure my finger spread's still hooked up right. Okay, so, well, what the hell? If we put that, oh, right, because it's still not actually coming from. So I've made a mistake. I've plugged in finger spread into the stuff for finger stretch, and so I need to make sure that these are all going to the right things now. Okay. So that's going into finger stretch. So we made the node. Here's the plus minus node. The multiply node. Finger stretch is going into multiply. Okay, so let's look at this multiply node. It should at least read 1, and it still doesn't. So let's figure out why that doesn't. So let's look at our stretch node. I'm going to look at my connection editor. Reload this. Oh, see, I only got one input. Something got screwed up here. So stretch A plus input 0, input 1, input 2. So let's do these one by one, make sure this thing updates. Thought I pasted this in, maybe I didn't. Yep, that one worked. Okay, that one worked. That one worked. So we look at this and okay, now that's 3. Huh. Something to go through before. Alright, so when we look at our stretch. Oh, huh. It's plugged into our spread, that's why. I started plugging in stuff too fast. Wait, why is this not working? Oh, I'm still plugging that in the spread, that's why. Okay. Trying to run ahead and it's screwing things up. Alright. So now when I look at stretch multiply, why is that still 0? Do I have... Oops, not multiply. Index stretch A plus. So I only have 2 values here. So I'm doing something wrong. I still get a typo here somewhere. Left index stretch A plus. Left index stretch A plus. Just run all 3. Okay, now we have 3 in there. Let's look at my spread. Disconnecting that. When it's like that, there's nothing hooked up to it anymore. Alright, and I think my spread is what's plugged into there, so I need to stretch. Let's make sure that's right. Stretch A plus. And stretch multiply. It's -1. Why is that -1? Alright, it's time to go look at my connection editor. Or not, hypergraph. Okay. So we have this is getting information from left index stretch A. Alt scale, it's getting index stretch. It's adding those together, right? We don't have it on subtract for some reason. Nope, sum. So if we start stretching the finger, which way does it go? Well, it goes right. It's just starting on -1 for some reason. Which isn't right, but let's figure out why. Alright, so the number we're getting in from there is coming from stretch plus minus. Alright, let's make sure that whatever numbers we're getting from that are correct. Because I can't figure out why those are adding up to -1. So let's go in here, just connect everything. So there's nothing coming from stretch plus. So that makes the plus node for stretch plus, adds on the default scale attribute we need. So we're adding on stretch to stretch, stretch to stretch, stretch A plus, plugs back into itself, stretch to stretch. Alright, that should do it. Maybe it was not, maybe it was getting conflicted because it already had something plugged in there and it's going, okay, that's what we're looking for. Weird. I think it wasn't updating it because I'd already plugged stuff into it. So let's make sure my spread still works. Okay, so all that happened because I got overzealous and started plugging in stuff before I really checked my text. And I swapped out stuff, I plugged in stuff from stretch into, or from spread into stretch stuff, and that got everything all confused. And then when things were already plugged in, and I don't think it updated them, I went, hey, something's already plugged in there, I'm not going to change that one. But it seems like we're okay now. So let's double check my connection editor for spread and just make sure there's only 2 things, there's 3 things plugged in there. Let's disconnect one. Really? Do I have these backwards somehow? Let's undo what I just did. Nope, okay. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to delete these guys. And just make sure this starts, if we start all over from scratch, this works correctly. So I'm going to turn all my scales back to 1. I'm just going to pick walk down. Okay, well, we'll assume this works if this all comes out right. Let's start with the stretch one. I'm just going to do this all in bulk and see what happens. That's hooked up. Okay, there's our finger back. And we have stretching, so we know that part works. Again, this is a case where we just go remake it and say, okay, well, let's try to figure out what happened here. And This is where all that script starts for stretching, or not, see I'm already doing it. For spreading, copy that, paste it in. That worked. Okay. So finger spread, stretch, next spread, stretch. Okay, so that's what we're looking for. That was expected. That was weird. Something wasn't getting connected, or something was, because of a typo I made. It made it too fast. But it's working now. So we know, just pasted those in as bulk, deleted the nodes that we had already made, pasted those in as bulk, and that worked fine now. Welcome to troubleshooting. You got to watch a whole video of me troubleshooting stuff. So the last one we have to do is index twist. That one is, thank God, a whole lot more straightforward. So I'm going to load this up as the output, grabbing index A. Then you'll find the twist. Index twist, and hook it up to rotate. And the only thing I might change here, again, is rotate X. Depending which way it goes, I might want positive one way and negative the other. Let me throw a locator in there again to kind of give us something to tell which way this thing is rotating. Alright, there's our locator. I'll make it a little bit bigger so we can see the twisting happening. So now when we twist our index finger, positive's out, negative's in. I don't know, I'm fine with that. There's no real rhyme or reason to that really being logical, I don't think. So we'll call that good. So that right there, if I ignore all the making stuff, I get, that's my index twist. The index twist attribute to rotate X of index A. Okay, so all this, after all that mess, this is one finger, and then yeah, when you have troubleshooting like that, maybe that is just as bad, but I don't know that we would have had that anyway, even without doing the scripting. Okay, so this is index. I'm just going to go ahead and make a new pad for each finger and do a search and replace. And we're going to swap out index for middle. 71 occurrences. So copy all that, paste it in here. Fingers crossed this works the first time through. Oh, thank God. Alright, so let's see. We're on the middle, so middle curl. So going the right way? Yep. And actually, the only thing here is for finger spread. I don't really want that, so I'm going to go find the finger spread plus minus node. Middle, left middle spread, multiply. Where's the plus? There we go. Open it up in the connection editor and hook up something else, and then disconnect it. Or, you know what? That was probably the wrong way. I think it's this one I want to disconnect. And so this one shouldn't do anything now. Great, it stays still, because this will help fan it out. But middle spread, middle spread. I think I broke the connections altogether. Let's undo it far enough so that middle spread still works. Did I go back too far? I think I did. I think I undid the script. There we go. It's back. And sorry, not index, but middle spread works. And part of overall spread. Okay, so left middle spread A+. I'm going to bring it open in the connection editor, and let's see if this trick works. So if I select it, and nope, it's not going to let me do that. Sometimes you could select it, right click on it, and okay, so middle isn't working, this is still hooked up. There we go. That's what I was looking for to happen. When I unhooked the other one, it didn't actually redo the connection. So, okay. So now I don't have it happening with that because I unhooked this from the plus minus node. So we start to get the beginning of our fanning action happening with this. So I need to do the rest of the finger still. And I'm just going to copy that text, make a new tab here. And, really if I wanted to, what I should do is go in here, find middle spread. I should do this at the code level. So here's the spread. Just take that out of there. I think that'll still work that way. Okay, so now we have the ring finger, but we don't want it. One, we want the spread to go the other direction. So again, it's fanning out. So we're going to do this on the multiply node. So rather than the negative one, we want it to be positive one. And really, rather than 1, we want it something like 0.5, so it only goes half the distance. So I'm going to paste that in there for the spread of the hand. Copy this. Alright, so we're past the hard part now. Now we're just sailing along. Oh, ha ha ha. Let's undo that. I forgot a part. Search and replace. I'm hitting Control H. The middle ring. Alright, I'm going to double check here, make sure I didn't. I undid until all my new nodes went away. So I'm just at least going to check my spread. Whoops. Okay, so that's still on. Great. I didn't kill that. Let's try that again. Again, I'm so ready to be done with this. I'm just racing ahead. Hit enter. Okay, so now we have all the stuff in the ring. Let's just check out how our spread's working. So that's starting to show us what our spread's going to look like as we spread out the fingers. And we'll see how that finally looks once we get the pinky in there. So I'm doing all those motions. Yeah, motions, not emotions. I guess technically they would be emotions, right? They're electronically happening motions. Okay, we've been doing this too long, right? Right. Okay, so I'm going to hit Control H to do search and replace again. Replace ring with pinky. And replace all. And I'm going to go find that multiply divide node for the spread here and change it from 0.5 to just to 1, so it's a whole 1 now. Copy all that. Oh, too much data, was it? 3 elements were not used, so let's undo. I don't know what that means. Let's try copying that again. Paste. Maybe I didn't remove everything out. Too much data was selected, 3 elements not used. Alright, so now I've done something wrong. Again, I'm going to undo till pinky node goes away there. Not sure what happened there. Let's go back a touch. Start with this. I'm going to make new tab again. Okay, do a search and replace for ring for pinky. Oh, because we're not in ring anymore, we're in middle. So I went back one in case I did something weird. 70 occurrences. Okay. And changing that from -1 to +1 for the spread, so it moves just as much as the index, but the other direction. Okay, that was weird. I must have had some typo in there. That's why I'm opening a new window for each one. So now we can see what the spread looks like overall. Oh, what the? Why is it? Why is the pinky not going? Okay. Let's undo again one more time. And probably because I used the middle. Right. Okay, let's find the index finger, because I know that's going to move the same way the pinky does. But I'll just reverse that one. And for the love of God, this will work. I'm just forgetting too many things. There's so many things to keep track of. And I'm sure if you're new to this, this is just overwhelming at this point. But you're in the deep end now. This is what this work is like often. I replaced, undoing again, I replaced the number, but I didn't switch out the name. So index, there we go, 71 occurrences, that's what I was expecting. I was wondering why it was 70 before. But that's why we have undo. And, you know, this is why I save my file before doing crazy things like this. Okay, so that's working. We'll just test overall. So here's us curling the whole hand. Here's us spreading the hand. There we go. That's kind of what I was going for with the spread. You know, I could tweak these numbers if I want, but I'm going to call that good enough for the sake of this. If I was going to tweak it, I'd tweak it with a multiply node, you know, and just maybe say, you know, rather than a full 1 multiplication, you know, say, well, actually we have that multiply node there. I could say like maybe -0.8 might be a better spread for that. You know, when I spread my fingers, you know, personally my pinky is the one that moves the most when I'm looking at my own hand. So maybe slightly less on there. You know, so if I want to go change that, I just find that index spread node, the multiply one, and rather than -1, let's try 0.08. And try finger spread. That looks a little bit more natural now. So that's all the fingers. We still got to do the thumb here. And let's see. I'll grab the index finger again to make the thumb. Place index with thumb. Place all. Okay, and then we know we have one more attribute to, you know what, we got, oh, you know, this is, yeah, I got one extra joint that I need in the thumb. So we'll delete that. We don't actually need that. Let's test out what I've done here, because I'm not sure what I just actually hooked up for the thumb. I might need to reduce that down. So curl looks okay. Bend A, and B, bend C, spread. Stretch should be fine. Twist. Twist is fine. We haven't anything up to thumb oppose. So let me see what I've got hooked up here. I've got rotate X, Y, Z on here. You know, what I want. Okay, here's the difference. So thumb spread should actually be one joint above. So it should be on this joint, because that's, well, no, it's still happening there. Maybe I don't actually need a pose. Maybe I'm just... Let me see if I could get this thing in a fist. Let's do that. That's really what the goal of this is can I easily make a fist? Let's see, thumb curl. See, I don't think technically I need the oppose. I think I was thinking I could bend a way that I actually can't from my thumb there. This is like moving my index around just from down here. But I'm able to move a whole lot more than my index can. So I think I actually have what I need, so I don't think I need the oppose. So I'll take this off for now. If I find a reason later on, I'll throw it back in. But let's just go ahead, edit, delete node, or not delete node, delete attribute. There we go. And we'll zero this thing back out. And there's our hand. Our hand is hooked up. And so if we look over here at the right, in theory this should all be the same. I'm going to delete off this oppose also. And so, okay, here's where we really test if we've saved ourselves any time. I'm going to replace left for right, replace, and do that in each one of these windows. Replace, replace. And again, this is another great thing about Notepad++, just being able to do this. Okay, so let's start with index. Okay, well, if this doesn't work, this is where we're ending for now, and you kind of get the idea of how to hook this up. If it does work, we'll go all the way through this. Oh my god, thank god. Can you guys tell this is one of my least favorite things to do? There's a reason we save the hands for last. But now this is easy. If I save these out, I can just do this again whenever. Okay, so all that mess we just went through with the left hand, can you imagine doing that again, as opposed to just ready to go now? So that's the bulk of why we just did that all in script just now. That was so much faster than the first time doing this and making sure everything was hooked up right and accidentally connecting wrong things. You know, once you get through that, you know, it's much easier to do. And if we do another character now, I've got this all saved. It's done. I paste that in. If everything's named the same way and all set up okay, we're ready to go. So, you know, here's us setting up this rig. You know, the only thing I think of is I might take the thumb off of the spread so it's not part of that, or maybe even all the finger curls. But you know, that's setting up a hand. So hope that was helpful. And there we go. We got our rig set up, and now we just need to start cleaning it up because let me show off, get rid of the DAG objects. But you know, here's what we got to deal with now. So we got to make this all work so we can move this whole guy around in some way. But as far as every individual piece, for the most part, he is set up and ready to go. So until next time, save your file.